Hello everyone. Welcome back to the SUMO call. It's let's see, it's 11th of September 2019, and we have a very special guest with us today, Sandy Sage, the product manager of Monitor and Firefox Lockbox. Right? I was about to
Likewise.
say Lockwise. So yeah, Lockbox. So before we're going to the Q&A with Sandy, let me quickly mention on the contributors of the week. We have Gerd, Pravin, Paul, Sham, and Lydia for taking part in the user testing for the Respond tool. So thank you so much for quickly pick that up. And yeah, let me know if you have any feedbacks about the Respond tool. Matthew and Madalena would love to hear more about that. So thank you so much for taking part on that user testing. Next one, we have agenda from SDK, who is about the, oh, I think it's about the replacement of IRC. So earlier, like a couple weeks or a couple days ago, well, the conversation has started like several months ago already. But then Mike Hoy, if you know Mike Hoy, he's coordinating the transition from IRC to another platform that we are not, it's not finalized yet. But the candidate, he's already announced some candidates for the replacement for IRC. And you can read all the like full details in his blog post that Julia has already linked in our agenda. So if you are interested to know more about that, and I'm sorry for my voice. So if you are curious about that, you can read more about that in the blog post that Julia have in the agenda. I believe this will be important for some contributors who are prefer to use IRC. So yeah, feel free to check out and probably try some of the candidates that we already talked about in the blog post. If you have any preference on that, just feel free to let me or let Mike Hoy directly know about what your preference is. Cool. I think that's the only thing we have for a community roundtable. And let's move on to the next one. We have product updates that I believe most of you are already looking forward to hear more about that. The first one, we have Firefox Private Network. Roland, do you want to speak more about that? We just launched it yesterday. It's very brand new.
Yes, so I believe that our NDA volunteers, some of whom are on this call, know that we had an employee-only alpha of Firefox Private Network, and yesterday we opened it up to everyone worldwide. You can only download it if it's in the United States. This is a free trial of a future paid service. I'm not at liberty to say, because I don't know, how we're going to transition from free to paid. When it will work outside the USA. I'm in Canada, and it doesn't work for me. If I'm a Canadian volunteer, I will not be able to download it, and I will not be. So, yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of questions about outside the USA, pay transition, all these things. Cannot answer them. As soon as I have the answers, I will let you know. But yes, if you are in the USA or traveling to the USA, because you can download it if you're traveling to the USA, please download it and try it and give us feedback. I believe we actually have the support link working. Yes, we do. There's a support forum as well. We launched a new support.mozilla.org ask a question forum. You can post it in there. It is desktop only, so Firefox desktop only. It does not work in Chrome, does not work in Safari Edge, etc. Does not work on mobile. So you can also ask your questions in the Firefox support forum, the one that we all know and love. And anywhere else on the internet, particularly Twitter and Reddit, we're checking things out. So yeah, let us know. That's the big news of this week. And yeah, I think that's it. Firefox 69 was released a week ago for Firefox for Mac, Windows, and Linux. Moving on, and it was also released Firefox 68.1. Fennec is on the ESR track. And anyhow, it's been a quiet week. We have our usual printing issues and nothing new. I do believe, as is very, very common, we will have a dot release for 69 for not major bugs. Just don't know when that will be. 6901, I think, will probably happen sooner rather than later. I think that's the end of the product updates. Looking forward to hearing what Sandy has to say. She's amazingly, I don't know how she does what she does, because product management is one of the hardest jobs to have in Mozilla, and she does multiple products on multiple platforms. Anyways, over to Sandy, or back to Kiki to introduce Sandy properly.
Thank you, Roland, for the updates about Firefox 69 and private network, I believe. Cool. All right. I think without further ado, let's just over the Zoom room to Sandy, who is already with us today. And let me just quickly say thank you to Sandy for making time to come to this meeting and like really sharing directly with the community. And I guess we already collect some questions from the SUMO community, but I think I would start with the first one from Saburo. But since Saburo is here, I wonder if, Saburo, would you like to verbalize your question yourself so I can save my voice?
Or Saburo is also known as Paul, and Paul's in a dark room. Are you going to unmute?
All right, no pressure, Paul. I can also read your question here. So, Sandy, the first question is from Paul here. So, first question from Paul is, what do you think of SUMO? What we do well and what could we do better in a way to support the Firefox product?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of SUMO, and that's been kind of a recent development because I think we have an amazing support platform that I didn't realize coming into this, with wonderful contributors that are helping manage the wealth of questions that are out there. Where I've seen SUMO excel most recently is really being adaptable. So part of the reason that I am just getting to know SUMO and our support team is because we started with these kind of early stage mobile products on Lockwise, and we really didn't understand how and where support would fit in. And since then, I've seen our SUMO team move from being really supporting one core product, being the browser, to supporting multiple products. And that's been in a relatively short time. I think that that's also really, really hard. So when you ask what could we do better, I think we just still all have a lot to learn about what support means on mobile, and transitioning to being able to kind of responding to some of those questions in the environment that they're coming to us from.
Okay, so a follow-up question from Paul still. I appreciate that. I just read the question like fully. I appreciate that it may not be possible to disclose details, but are Lockwise and Monitor finished products, or are there going to be further enhancement?
I mean, I love this question. For me, I don't know how much I'm supposed to not share this, but to me, these products are still really early stage. Monitor just celebrated its 1-year anniversary, and Lockwise only shipped the Android app back in March of this year. So both are really early stage. And that's why we want to continue to demonstrate forward progress and changes and evolution as we're going forward on both products. But I would say that that's probably something to keep in mind too, as we see feedback and questions coming in. It's like, it doesn't do all of these things. It's like, absolutely it doesn't, because we're still just getting started.
Maybe you could highlight, I think this is public knowledge. I know it's public knowledge. Maybe Sandy, you could highlight Lockwise in the Firefox 70 timeframe for all three platforms, desktop, iOS, and Android. Like, what are the big things that we may have missed that are coming soon, October?
Yeah, so that is actually a number of seemingly different pieces, like Lockwise, like Monitor, like password generation, all coming together in Firefox to kind of build more of the desktop piece of our overall identity management story. So taking a step back, one of the biggest threats that our users face are like credential stuffing. Breaches and hacks, and our audience, the people that we really want to reach, are people who don't realize their vulnerability and don't know how they're affected. So then we look at, how do we bring all of that together in a place where somebody is already there? So a lot of people are already saving passwords in Firefox, and that's kind of where we started. And so now we're able to bring some of this forward into Firefox. So in Nightly today, we've raised the visibility of passwords. You can get to it from a lot of new places. It now takes you to an About Logins home screen. So that's a management interface where you can now edit, delete, manually add a new credential. That's a new thing. But more importantly, we also tie in the Monitor piece, where if you have saved credentials that have a domain that's saved in your local data store, we don't reach out to any third party, that might be a potentially compromised account, we let you know. And then we also now give you a tool to change your password. So from that management interface, if I go to a potentially compromised account, I can go out to that account, like link to the domain, and change my password. And upon changing my password, I also now have the ability to generate a unique, secure password. So all of these pieces all work together, because people aren't actively looking to generate secure passwords, or at least the audience we want to be able to support is not actively saying, like, I need a password generator. But we do know that people are willing to take incremental steps to improve their digital hygiene if we give them all of the visibility and the tools and the knowledge first. Did that cover it, Roland?
Yeah, I think you covered some of Alice Wyman's questions as well, which the second part of this. But maybe we should finish with Saburo's before we go over that.
Yeah, so we still have like 2 questions from Paul. Another one is about what you have learned from working on these 2 projects that probably will be useful.
Yeah. So we've learned so much, right? We've learned what problems people have using our apps, the value people have around finding their passwords, a lot about the market. So I don't think that's maybe all. I mean, I'm happy to share all of these learnings and how we've incorporated that into our roadmap. But I think the one thing that's pertinent to this group, we learned the hard way how critical support is. And it is one of the that is our priority focus right now, is getting our apps set up so that they're directing to SUMO, making sure that everything's in place when we introduce new features, that we're able to leverage the support community that we have. Because right now our users are floundering. We do have a lot of issues going on. I can speak to that too. And we don't have good support because we tried to take that on ourselves to begin with, and that was the wrong move.
Cool. So last question from Paul. How can contributors to SUMO help you, both on Lockwise and Monitor, but also on future projects?
I love this. Paul, I feel like you ask me this every time we bump into each other too. So it's like my best question. I still don't really know. Like, this is all really new for me. Working with SUMO, working on non-browser products with SUMO, like we're still figuring it out. So I think the thing I need most isn't really like a tangible. It's mostly like empathy or just reaching out where there's questions, or highlighting things that I would assume that I don't know if there's a problem, because this is all still really new. So that's the best way to support us is just kind of, give us good feedback.
Yeah, and Sandy is open to people who are comfortable. If you're comfortable with GitHub, file a GitHub issue. You're all in GitHub, right? All your products, including desktop.
Yeah. Desktop is not. It's Bugzilla,
and
it's
under the Mozilla desktop. Okay. Yeah, if you're comfortable, and if not, reaching out to Sandy or myself or Kiki or anybody in the SUMO team, and we can filter if you want. But I think Paul knows enough to reach out directly. The other thing that I think we can contribute that's not always apparent is that our contributors, our volunteers are in geographies that we don't typically consider. So they're out. Yes, we have volunteers in Germany, tier 1 market. We have volunteers in all of our tier 1 markets, but I feel that if we really truly want to encompass the diversity of the world, our volunteers are a different slice, perhaps a more complete slice of the world. So if you want a worldwide perspective or people on the ground asking them about mobile phones in their country, like what brands or how people use browsers and internet cafes in other geographies, people don't always have laptops and things like that. Like you could use them as user research. You could use them as sounding boards or anecdata. Sometimes anecdata is actually good. Anecdotal data. Yes. That's how I feel, but I'm biased.
No, that's super helpful because honestly, the U.S., like what we consider maybe tier 1 markets, U.S. and Canada, may not always be the ones that are going to connect really well with password and privacy kinds of security. In fact, we saw a huge spike in China on the Monitor site a few months ago that isn't set up to be supported well in China. So it's now made us have to come back and say, like, how can we do a better job supporting these products worldwide? So I may take you up on that, Roland.
Mm-hmm.
Anecdotal data from awesome volunteers for the win. Yes.
Cool. So thank you so much, Saburo, for the question. We now move on to the next one. This one is from Alice. So Alice is a contributor on the KB articles. She's really active there. And her question is about the changes on the UI and I guess it's in Lockwise for Firefox 70. So Sandy, can you give more detail on how Firefox Monitor will be integrated with desktop Firefox Password Manager in version 70? And any suggestion for updating the article about the specific changes, perhaps, for that?
That is a good question. Joni and I have been talking about, getting some of these articles updated generally because a lot is changing on desktop. So that's at least my understanding is a little bit underway. How Monitor will work in desktop, so just kind of elaborating a little bit more there. It will be in the management UI, so about logins, no other place. Kind of where we'll see it. I take that back. There's the about protections. So if you're using Nightly, you can also go to about protections, and then there's a Monitor call out there too. And so the way I think about Monitor is a reason to care. Right. We talk about an audience of people who don't really understand that there's a problem potentially or around kind of their credential management in general, or that their identity is being leaked in different ways that they haven't given permission. And so Monitor is really the first step in identifying that there is a problem. And Lockwise is just part of the solution. And so that's why these two are coming together a little bit more closely. And so how that manifests in the management UI is first in about protections. If you have potentially compromised credentials, we will let you know in that kind of all the components of the about protection screen. From there, we also still have the call out to go to the Monitor website, because we can only give you updates about your saved logins in Firefox, but we know that a lot of people use multiple browsers. So we try to give people both, right? Like the holistic monitoring service on the website, as well as direct monitoring with data you've already saved in Firefox. So I don't know if that helps, maybe at least broad strokes address kind of what's coming next with Lockwise and Monitor in 70.
I think that relates to another question from Noah. Noah is here, but I think I'm going to verbalize this one because it's related to the previous answer from you. So are we getting closer to being able to import passwords from all other browsers to Lockwise, or at least like the most popular browser out there?
I'd say closer, steps closer. It is on our roadmap. So right now we're focused on getting everything that I've just talked about shipped, but then coming back through and understanding that we can't help people with all of their credentials if it's only what they've saved in Firefox. So it's in the very near term to midterm future of being able to import passwords primarily from other browsers, starting with Chrome, particularly on Mac OS. And right now, I do think we have the ability to import from Chrome on Windows, but we want to expand essentially that offering. And we also want to bring that offering to the management UI itself, because maybe as you're downloading Firefox, you're not thinking, oh, I also want to bring over my passwords. But we also want to give you a way to come back through as you're looking at passwords, like, oh, I really wish I had my Chrome passwords here. So all of that is being thought through and considered for the near future. So just inches closer.
Noah, I wonder if you want to verbalize the other question yourself since you're here. So I'm not the one
Sure.
talking.
Sure, I can do that. Do I sound okay, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Sandy, I just want to say thanks for those answers. Like, I really love the detail you just gave on those answers. So I can finally tell people they can import their password soon.
So close.
No rush, no pressure. And Roland kind of stole my thunder on another question, so I'll throw that in last about the features and enhancements. But are there any misconceptions about Lockwise or Monitor that we should know about, so maybe we can help put them to rest?
Yes, this is such a great question, because there are so many misconceptions out there. The most problematic one for me is really who we're building for. There's a perception that we're building products for ourselves, Mozilla employees, more technical users, and I think the audience is that we're already pretty well served by existing solutions. Like, we know about password managers, we probably know about Have I Been Pwned, we know about solutions that exist in the market, and really shifting our thinking towards we're building for people that maybe aren't us. And so that's a misconception that I continue to face everywhere. Why doesn't this work like 1Password? Well, I actually don't think our competition is 1Password, right? Like, if you have 1Password, you're already pretty well covered. So trying to really emphasize that we're trying to support this more vulnerable group that doesn't know about the existing solutions or doesn't trust the existing solutions, or maybe just don't understand it. Like, I don't know if anyone else here has ever set up a password manager, but it took me about a day, maybe even like 2, to get all of my credentials in and then kind of make some changes here and there and go through it. It was a ton of work. And so that's not the audience we're trying to serve. I'm also happy to go into misconceptions that are out there too, because I think there's a lot of belief about, I'd love to share general misconceptions that the market has. Like, there's, at least I've heard, internally, people want to generate passwords, and it's like all of the evidence is actually the opposite. Passwords are really, really personal. People want to use their dog's name and their anniversary date because it's unique to just them, and that is going to be much more secure than a randomly generated password that is an algorithm that could be hacked, right? Like, we know that that's not true, but that is a very common mental model out there. I could go all day on these. So tell me when I need to stop. But those are, yeah, I mean, people's misconceptions are what's driving our product roadmap, not maybe misconceptions about our products.
No, that was awesome. I love those answers. I was thinking maybe you could like jot them down somewhere, like so I can share them with the rest of the SUMO team.
Yeah.
And then the other one, let's see. Are there any issues with Lockwise or Monitor that we as support helpers should be aware of? For example, I know Lockwise has been crashing recently, and I know your team's aware of this and working hard on it. So no pressure on that, but like, yeah, go with it.
No, it's a lot of pressure. So there's the inside baseball, which is we're still figuring out staffing on mobile, and it all happened at a really bad time for us where these issues were coming up. I do have a release that should be coming out this week, fingers crossed, that should mitigate a lot of the big issues that you're highlighting, like the crashes. There's also like a big keyboard issue where the keyboard keeps getting dismissed. I think we're working on that, and so what's been great is people opening up these GitHub issues, even if they're duplicates or adding additional context to additional issues, like that helps us continue to understand like how bad the problem is. And so if there are issues, like let's continue to open those up. Those are the biggest issues right now. Crashing, the keyboard getting dismissed. On iOS, there's a couple of, well, I take that back. iOS and Android, there's autofill issues in general. Those are also on our radar. We're trying to balance that with the driving user requests around being able to create, edit, and delete existing saved credentials. But first, like, and our first priority is like getting the apps in a stable place, so that people aren't experiencing terrible experiences. And anyone who's looked at it, like our reviews and ratings are suffering because of it. So this isn't just us wanting to fix bugs. This is a real problem.
Yeah, I would say that crashes across any of our products on popular computers or mobile phones or tablets is a big concern. Firefox, Mozilla wide.
Yep.
Crashes are not good. Only good if it's a weird device that only 10 people in a certain country have. But generally, when it crashes on lots of devices or lots of laptops. It's not just devices.
Awesome. I'm totally glad to hear that you guys are on top of it, and now I feel up to date, like on what's like not working in Lockwise. And this one is probably going to be like a rehashed question, like for the third time, so you don't have to go in like the super high detail. But are there any new features or enhancements still in the works for Lockwise or Monitor that you're excited about? You're just going to rattle them off. You don't have to go in high detail.
Things I'm excited about. So all of the things that I just highlighted with on Roland's question, right, with what's coming with 70. And then, of course, offering improvements. A lot of that is net new. So making sure we spend the time this time to really listen to our users, address the issues as they come back, but then kind of picking up with the import and export. Bringing Monitor and Lockwise continually closer together. And so now that means something on mobile as well. Like, how does that come back into the Lockwise mobile apps? Leveraging the About Protections page in a way, like how does that continue to feed into kind of a dashboard of people's digital identity? Like, how do I get a snapshot of how healthy I am or how unhealthy I am, and then continuing to offer remediation. So the website itself of Monitor right now is very much a sign in and find out, like set it and forget it, coming back through and giving people more and more remediation tools and in Monitor. One of those being, if you have Firefox, use Lockwise because we've got you back there. So I know it's a little hand wavy, but those are the broad strokes kind of direction that we're taking, and we're pretty excited about it.
Sweet, thank you. That was awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sandy. I see that the community are very excited to have you here. They have lots of questions, and we even over time now. So I'm so sorry for the other contributors here that we don't have any time for like real question, like real-time questions. So let's just hope that we can get Sandy back here in our community meetings next time. And yeah, so thank you so much, Sandy, for making the time, and sorry for the overlap with the monthly meeting as well. And for those of you who NDA, you can also watch the monthly meeting that is happening right now. So I think since we already overlap for 4 minutes now, then thank you so much for coming. We'll see you next week. And yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Sandy. It was fantastic.
See you later, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Sandy.
Bye.